the argument that in some cases suicide may be ethically justified. Theologically speaking, Hume said that God created life, and part of that life is our mental reasoning. As a result, God created a world in which he is not needed, and therefore, if our mental reasoning leads us to an act of suicide, then in Hume's word, let it be so, it is God's will. Respect for life is a modern perspective on this theological stance. This philosophy gives life an intrinsic value and thus something that we should respect. However, in 1980, the philosopher Basil said killing is morally permissible in self-defense when you are using this act to save the life of others. In this vein, suicide or taking one's own life to protect others could be morally justified. In these cases, the respect for one's own life is sacrificed for the respect of the lives of others. This is further supported by the consequentialist framework, which looks at whether an act is morally or ethically justified by balancing the overall benefit and harm of the consequence of one's actions. In a case where committing a suicide would actually benefit the society as a whole, despite the pain and the harm of the act itself, then in these cases suicide may be morally justified. For example, taking the ethical principle of justice into account, if a patient was terminally ill and there was no cure for them, committing suicide may open limited resources to further benefit society. Taking this into consideration, it can't be said that overall, in all cases of suicide, that it would be an ethically unjust act, as in these cases it would be morally permissible.